women are desperate, literally driving around several pharmacies for their HRT. This leads us to introduce two very strong advocates for women when it comes to supporting their health, as well as standing up for our rights to the healthcare we need and the support from both government and employers. Claire Hattrick, menopause advocate, single mother of twin girls, and author of the book Menopause Help, and Debs Wallbank, aka the Menopause Confidence Coach, who has appeared on ITV's This Morning, is a mentor and is helping women gain confidence and thrive through midlife and beyond.
I think we share our horrendous stories because we hear it so often. And I think in years to come, because we share our stories, and Deb's like myself, we do a lot of campaigning, we should never have got to the stage that we were at, let alone, I mean, I've lost 9.5 years of my life and I will never get that back. And when I tell my story, I can see women often in the workplace looking at me, ticking boxes and saying, that's me. And I'm like, the reason I'm telling you is because you need to go and see your GP. You need to look at HRT. If you can't take or you don't want to take HRT, look at supplements, run supplements alongside HRT. We're not scaremongering, but we want people to know that we should never have been left as long as we have and undiagnosed, which now we're getting the conversation going. In 20 years' time, I think we'll be in a very, very, or even in 10 years' time, a very different place to where we are now.
You're you're saying your daughters know about menopause now. My daughter knows about menopause. She knows that it may hit her in her late 30s, and it's not going to be a surprise that if she starts feeling a bit imbalanced at that point, she might go, oh yeah, it's probably perimenopause. Whereas I was literally Googling everything, as I think you both probably did as well.
Never heard of it. Never heard of it. I thought menopause was for old ladies in their kind of 50s and 60s. But they also now, I know Tim Spector does a lot of research with twins and multiple births. And there's now rumour that if you've had twins or multiple births, they now think that you may go through a horrendous menopause.
Oh, because of the hormonal fluctuations in your body, the more extremes.
I don't think they've got that far. I've taken part in some Imperial College London research and sent them a few blood tests and things like that. But I just think the more that we talk about these symptoms and issues, it becomes the norm and not this taboo subject that, it affects 51% of the population. Why are we being left?
What steps did you take, Debs, what that actually started to make you feel better?
Went to the GP for this. They did blood tests and it turned out that there was an indication I could be in perimenopause. And I was like, what's perimenopause? I didn't know, because most women don't. And then it really just all made sense. I was offered HRT immediately. I had it for 1 month. And then the shortage came in 2020. And I couldn't get it anymore. Or not the type that I was being prescribed, which was a combined pill at that point. After back and forth with the GP, I tried to get a different type of HRT, but all of a sudden nothing was available. I don't know if you remember this at the time, Claire, prior to the current shortage. And it went on for months, to such a point that I kind of gave up chasing it up. Then I forgot to chase it up because my mental health was going through the floor. And it all culminated in my breakdown in December 2020. Was given more HRT, but this brings me into another part of my story that you might want to talk about later, that I was given the wrong combination of HRT, or at least no combination at all. I was given estrogen only HRT, and I didn't know any better at this point because I hadn't ventured into this business and my new life. So I didn't know, because I still had my womb, I should have had progesterone as well. And that went on for a whole year. And that brings me to the chaos that this year has brought, where I have had the heaviest, most painful bleeds I could ever imagine, to the point of being doubled up in tears, to going to hospital to have biopsies taken to rule out anything more serious, to finally being put back on the right HRT, but still having a bleed now. And none of that would have happened if I'd been given the correct HRT in the first place. So a massive part of what I do now is ensuring women understand what HRT is and what they need personally. Because a lot of women just don't know that they need a combination of things.
And do you want to talk us really briefly through that so that our listeners understand, so that it's not just estrogen, it's estrogen and progesterone and perhaps testosterone as well, depending on where you are?
Absolutely. And everyone on HRT will need estrogen. It's not the one that drops the most quickly. Claire, you can correct me. I think you're far more knowledgeable on this than me, but it's the one that functions most of our body. The progesterone also declines, as does testosterone. And I think it's testosterone that actually declines the quickest. For the most part, if you have your womb still intact, you will need estrogen and progesterone, because estrogen on its own causes your womb lining to thicken. If you were having a natural cycle, without HRT, that's what your period does. Essentially, it flushes all the excess away. The progesterone, when you're on HRT, helps to balance that. If you don't have that, the lining is going to continue to thicken and thicken, which can lead to serious bleeds. It can also lead to much more serious conditions. Thankfully, that's not my situation. I'm very grateful. But it's still all very stressful. And then you've got testosterone in the mix that most women don't even know they have, let alone that they can have it as part of HRT. However, it's probably the hardest one to get hold of, because you can't have it unless you've been on your estrogen stroke progesterone combo for a period of time. And you will only get it if your blood levels drop out with the normal level for a woman. So even though you think you need it, I'm fairly sure I need it, because it's not just about libido, it's about energy, it's about mood, it's about brain cognition. And I'm sure I need it, but I can't have it yet because my blood levels are still sitting in the normal range.
Again, I think the problem is with menopause, it is not one tablet fits all, not one exercise fits all. Women are always talking about weight gain. I am really good at fasting, for example, but other women say they're flat on their back and, their sugar levels drop and they feel ill and they can't cope with it. So I think that is the one problem with menopause, whether you're talking symptom remedies, HRT, supplements, what will work for me won't work for you. What my levels are, they're not for you. And that is the problem with menopause. There's so many different variables. There's so many different symptoms. There's so many different, I might have 4 symptoms. Somebody might have 44. My symptoms definitely post-menopause. I mean, I've not had a period for 9-10 years. So I would definitely say post-menopause is where you want to be, ladies. But you are post-menopause for the rest of your life. And women in my group are forever saying, when am I going to get through this? And I hate to say it, but we need to be real and we need to be honest. You're not. You are post-menopause until the day you die. So you need to deal with your symptoms, whether it is exercise. I know there's some people that don't want to take HRT, and we have to respect that. Some people swear by supplements. Some people say, I don't take anything. I've done it very au naturel. I get up, I exercise, I eat healthily, I stay hydrated, I don't smoke, I don't drink. We all know the things that will exacerbate.
Just picking up on one point that you made is, and I believe this too, there's no single silver bullet that's going to fix menopause. It's not, HRT is wonderful and, there's so many benefits and we've talked about them. I think what I was trying to say with that is there's been a big push in the media about HRT. And what I was slightly concerned about was that's not the be all and end all. There's whole lifestyle changes that we can make or to continue. And even though Claire, you were doing a lot of these things already, I just wonder if you could both maybe give some of your ideas on the lifestyle changes that you can make, given your experience of having gone through it, that you think might help other women.
Just to touch on what you were just saying, HRT is fantastic and it can work for lots of women. Some women, like you say, don't want it, don't need it. Great. But it's not to say that you can replace it with a healthy lifestyle. Nothing will replace what HRT does for you, because nothing else can physically put those hormones back into your body. So I'm an advocate for HRT, and if you can take it, I suggest you do, because it also has future health benefits as well. It's not just about helping out with the symptoms. But whether you do or you don't use HRT, a lifestyle change is essential in menopause.
I'm always saying, and I am a big believer in self-help. And I think there's a lot of people that want to take a miracle pill. And I'm often saying to my ladies that lifestyle, I am rubbish at drinking water. But now, before I have a cup of tea in the morning, I drink 2 of these. For my joints, that has been, not a game changer, but definitely it's helped. If you're going to smoke 20 fags a day, that's not going to help with a lot of your symptoms. It exacerbates joint pain, it exacerbates hot flushes. You've got to be willing to make those changes yourself.
I want to talk to you about menopause in the workplace as well, because I know you're both absolute advocates of campaigning for awareness and everything in the workplace. And I wonder what you see as the future of menopause in the workplace and how it'll be dealt with. If I could come to Claire first on that one, please.
Well, I've started to go into businesses now and do menopause presentations, but my big love is going back doing what I call menopause sofa sessions. So they have me in on a regular basis. There's lots of companies now that are thinking we need to do something with menopause, and maybe they've got Barbara in accounts that's now become their menopause angel, which is brilliant. But maybe you don't want to talk about your vaginal dryness to somebody that you work with. So my passion is going in on a regular basis. I kind of take off, off of the company's hands, all the issues they may have with women's health. I think the fact that you're an external, source, people are a bit more open to opening up and a bit more honest. But I think in time, those things with women's health will become the norm. I'm absolutely adamant. In 20 years' time, once a month, you will have somebody coming into your place of work that you can maybe go and talk to, because women of menopausal age are the UK's largest growing demographic. You can't afford to lose any more staff possibly than you've got right now with the world the way it is. Why should women go part-time or give up work altogether because they feel they've gone into a meeting and they've stood there brain fog, haven't got a clue what they're even saying, let alone who they're sitting next to, and they feel they've got to give up work, and then they sit at home, and what happens? Their mental health is off the Richter scale. Women want to go to work. Maybe they don't want to work full time anymore. Maybe they want to go and work in a little tea or coffee shop. Happy days. But why should they have to give up what are we living for? Just to sit at home and watch television? That's not good for anybody.
My personal experience of that is very much like Claire said. And at work, I just felt I was failing in jobs that I knew I could do with my eyes closed. So it was the lack of knowing what was actually going on with me, but also the lack of any kind of compassion from an employer. And it was just deemed to be that I was crap at my job. And, there would be performance reviews, there would be disciplinaries, and none of this helps when you're already struggling to understand why you can no longer do something you've done for 20 plus years. So for me, there needs to be much more general awareness from an employer as to what could be a sign of menopause, so that they know to make allowances in consideration for that. The compassion to deal with women in their life cycle, because there's so much going on in a woman's body that lots of employers just refuse to even comprehend that.
For women who are perhaps struggling right now, are maybe not getting the help that they need, just what are the few steps that they can take? I know we always suggest you go to your GP, you try and talk things through, but actually what can you do for yourself? The self-help that you mentioned, Claire, and actually take some positive steps for yourself. What would be your tips, Debs?
For me, find a friend, find someone that will listen to you in a non-judgmental way. Male or female, doesn't matter. They just need to be there to listen to you.
I think for me, education, and information. I think however old you are, if you're in your mid-30s, just be aware of what could possibly happen to you. I think the more people like Debs and myself, the more us menopause warriors, advocates are out there, championing menopause. We're getting it out in the workplace. We both work with the media, lots of magazines. And just, if we can get menopause out there, we should be unemployed. We should be on a beach in the Bahamas in about 20 years' time, not needed, because everybody's going to be going to their GP who's going to be better trained. And I was going to say, if you're not getting anywhere with your GP, like Deb says, use your voice, book another appointment, go and get an emergency appointment so you see whoever is on shift. And also menopause trackers. They are really, really good. I've got some in my shop actually. And people say, I took an app and I waited 6 months to get this appointment and I didn't have a signal. Go back to paper, write down your sleep, your diet, how you're feeling mentally. Again, it's all a bit of self-help. Get those menopause trackers, write them down, give them to your GP. The evidence there is in front of them.
It's been just incredible. And thank you so much for sharing what has been an incredibly hard time for you. And I think the way that you're giving out your stories to other people so that you can help other women is just, it's incredible and it's inspiring. And I'm genuinely moved, and I'm so thrilled to actually be speaking to you both and meeting you kind of in person finally. So thank you so much. A special announcement from Salora, our show sponsor. Salora is a natural monthly supplement to support your mind and body in perimenopause and beyond. As a thank you for listening to our show, claim 50% off your first month using promo code UNPAUSE50 at salora.com.